Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at bass melodies. I recently did a video in this project where I talked about this arp over here. And I got some questions on how I made the bass melody for that part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all three bass melodies of this particular project, and then we'll also make one from scratch. So just looking at the project, opening it up over here, we can see that there's three different bass melodies. There's the first one over here. Then in the second drop, we have the second one, which is different. And finally, over here, we have a third one. And as you can see, for example, over here, there's also some variations. Here you can see we have a few more octaves. You can see the higher notes up here, whereas over here, that is not present. And the same is true for the first drop, where this melody is a little bit more complex than what is happening over here. But those are all variations built on top of the main melody. First, we have to look at how to actually get that main melody. And in this part, it was very easy because we already have this arp over here. We can just steal parts of the melody from that arp and use that as our bass melody. So what you'll find is that all of these bass notes are actually stolen directly from the melody over here. If you go over here, you can see that we have a G sharp and an A G sharp again. And that is reflected on here, G sharp, A, G sharp. You may notice that I'm not directly copying over just the main melody over here and using all of these notes. As you can see, I just used a very small portion over here and over here. In this case, to link it together with the main bass melody. And then over here, there are some variations that also match up with the melody, of course, which is this, this, and this. And then over here, there's also some similarities between the melody. So this part and this part the same, and this part the same with the arp melody. So for this part over here, just to verify that, that's this stuff that you see over here. I guess it's this and these two notes. And then the way that I wrote it is that the first and the third part is the same. And then this part over here, as you can see, there's a little difference over here. It just goes back up over here, and then there's an extra note, and that way you get the same thing over here. Now, one of the things that you'll see is that all of the notes that I'm turning up an octave happen to be on the offbeat. So as you can see over here, over here, over here, this is the offbeat, over here, this is the offbeat. When it comes to the onbeat, I always leave the note at the root note, and that is what you'll see for all of these lower velocity notes over here. Because the kick is playing over here, I want that note to synchronize well with the kick. And therefore, keeping it in the root note allows me to phase align it, and I just have to do that once. Because if you change the notes, then the phase alignment may also change, and you need to check that again. Now, when it comes to the variation, what I essentially wanted to achieve was a little bit more groove. And therefore, what you'll see is that I've just turned up more notes into the higher register. So again, this is where the bass normally plays, and here's the melody sitting kind of up top, an octave higher. If you move it down, you can see that it's just a melody moving around the bass note. And again, this melody is completely based off the arp that we have over here. But in this particular part, the arp is no longer playing, the arp is no longer present. So it's really just meant to enhance the groove of the track. And you can play around with having the right grid synths and the right rhythms of the main synths that you're playing on top of it, to enhance that groove and to maybe follow along with that groove so that you get something like this. Notice if I play the kick and the bass and this particular synth over here that you get a very groovy vibe to it. So there's a lot of interplay between the two rhythms, and overall it becomes very danceable. And when it comes to this kind of stuff, that is your main goal to achieve. You want to create this kind of cohesion between the bass melody and some of your main elements so that they actually work well together, and you set up interesting patterns for the listener to dance to. Now, the real way that you do that is just through experimentation. One of the things that I noticed is that when it comes to these kind of melodies over here, duplicating it over and just making sure that there's more beats where it goes up an octave makes it sound more groovy. And you can see that I use this effect to the fullest in the next melody over here. In that this melody over here, it is using every beat to go up an octave, and you can see that there's a lot of notes that just jump up an octave, but sometimes there's a little bit of an extra melody or a little bit of an accent, which is what keeps the track interesting. Now, this is again using the same form of repetition in that the first bar and the third bar is doing exactly the same thing. So if I take this over here and I copy this over, you'll see that it lands on exactly the same notes. And then over here, the rhythm is the same, but the notes are slightly different. As you can see, the only difference though is this one note over here, which is just like a minute detail that just makes it ever so slightly different. But the key idea is that we then have like this kind of structure where it's A, B, A, C. And that is a very common writing pattern that you'll see in a lot of different music, anywhere from hip-hop rhyme schemes into classical melodies. And in this particular case, we are also making use of that. Now, in this particular case, when it comes to writing the melody, there isn't really any reference material that I have. All of this stuff over here is just static root note synths. You can hear, as I said, it's all playing the root note, so there isn't really a melody that you can build off of. But what you can do is build off the groove of the original synths and see if you can find some interesting combination that works with both. So as you can see, the melody is working with both of the synths together. The melody patterns are playing in both of the drops, and this is what you get if you play them together. One of the interesting things to note over here is that this also uses kind of like an A-B-A-C pattern. So this would be the A, this would be the B, this would be the A, and this would be the C over here. And you can see kind of in the synths how it differs. You can see that these synths really only play in the B and in the C parts. So it would look something like this. And you can see that over here in the A parts, the sounds are always playing in the same exact way. So these just duplicate over here, this one over here, and this one over here. And this is again stuff that is purely in that C part over here, which means that we get the exact same repetition as we had in our original bass melody. And that means that the groove is always going to work with the elements that we put on top because they're using the same writing structure. Now for the last one, I'm not really happy with this one and the element probably needs to get replaced, but this is currently what it sounds like. And then we also have a variation which has some octave jumps. What I just think about it is that the groove isn't really hitting the mark for me. One of the interesting things that I'm doing in this melody, particularly in the first part, is that I'm not actually doing the octave jumps. I'm just building the melody around the root note over here. And I thought that that would be cool because that was essentially also what was happening over here. And I thought that that would be a cool way to differentiate this melody a little bit more from the melodies that we have over here. But at the end of the day, I don't think that it works and I would much rather replace it with a different synth so that I have a new idea that I can write that bass melody around and we can get something more interesting. So that is what we're going to do. As you remember from the ARP video, we have this ARP over here. This is of course one of my presets from Sideturns Vitals Volume 1. As you can see, all of the melody has been done over here in the LFOs. So this is just playing one individual note and it's not actually playing a melody, as you can see over here. So what I did quickly to speed up this video is I just extracted the melody as a MIDI. And you can hear the melody sounds like this. And we can use that to our advantage when writing bass melodies. So what we can do is we can select all of these and consolidate them because then we have the same length as the original melody. And then we just hold Control and click both of them. And then we can edit both at the same time, as you can see over here. This makes it really easy to see exactly what is happening. And we can start building in the groove based on the notes that we have over here. So here we go to F sharp. Let's do that over here as well. And let's have a groove that is very simple. Here we go to the root note, as you can see. We're just going to go and put that groove into the whole thing. What I would like to do over here though is accentuate this particular note over here. So I'm just going to add that on top. Here we can also do something interesting and we can go down in step like this, again to this note over here because we're matching that to this F sharp that we have over here. And now our bass melody is going to do something like this. Let's duplicate that over throughout the whole track here and let's have a listen to what that sounds like. As you can hear, we have that really nice cohesion between the melody and the main arp that we have in this particular part. So what I'll probably end up doing is replace this idea over here with the arp that we have over here, because I think that that's just more interesting. Now, as you can probably tell, there isn't much to it when it comes to actual things that I can explain, and that is purely because I don't really know music theory. Like all of this stuff, I'm writing it by ear and just by repetition, I guess, just by experience. Having done it a few times, I kind of know which rhythms and which combinations work well together, but it is something that I'm still experimenting with. As you can see from that one bass melody that I didn't really like, sometimes it just goes wrong, sometimes it's not the right vibe, it's not the right idea for the track. And really, that is what I would recommend for you guys as well. Just keep in mind that you're trying to use the bass melody to kind of enhance the main feeling of your track, or to add a particular groove to the track, in the sense that you're combining the idea of your main melody with the bass, or you're using it to enhance the groove of the track, where you can make use of some reference material like the synths that are in there if they're playing a rhythm. Then you can make sure that the groove of the rhythm of the synths and the groove of the actual bass melody work well together. So that's everything that I'm going to be explaining for you today. I hope that you learned something and that you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and while you're there, make sure that you like the video and that you subscribe to the channel. Another good way to support the channel is by watching some more of my videos, so I'll leave 2 up on the end cards right now. You can just pick one and enjoy, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.